Hello, welcome to the TU Sports Extra Podcast. I'm Patrick Prince, joined as always by Kelly Hines. It's Thursday, February 23rd. A cold Thursday, Kelly. Not really enjoying this, not gonna lie. Yeah, we got spoiled a little bit with some 60s and some sun, and now we got, a little dose of reality. All right, so let's talk some TU hoops. So it's been an interesting season to say the very least. But in all that's gone wrong this year, are there any silver linings? Anything to look forward to? Any positives?
I think at this point we don't really have any options, but to maybe look ahead to next year. And I think there have been quite a few young guys who have played for Tulsa this season, and no, it has not really gone that well, but there have been some good moments from them that you have to feel optimistic about their future. And one thing that really sticks out to me is, have you been to a TU home game this season?
I have not.
I'm not sure what you're waiting for, but they do this projection thing onto the court during the pregame, like when they're when they're doing their hype video before they do the starting lineup. And the song that they use for that gets in my head because I've heard it a few times, but it's one of the lines is something about, if you want to see the future, take a look at us, something like that. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like they knew this season was going to go the way it did. So they're like, oh, but the future though. And I really think there's something to that. And I think you have really no choice but to look ahead when they're 5 and 22, and they've won one conference game out of 16. They've lost 9 games in a row. We could go down the list with that. George, I'm in the middle of something. I think you start, and obviously the coaches, they've been working on trying to get some players in for next year. But I feel like the hardest thing as a coach in this current era of college sports is you have a bad year. How do you get the guys on your roster to stay on your roster? It would be so easy for any of these guys to be like, this has been great, but we could go somewhere else and maybe not be part of a rebuild. So I think that's going to be a challenge. But if you're able to hold on to your freshmen, at least, I think they could be good players. I mean, you're already starting a couple of freshmen. They're going to be guys who maybe we look back, in 2 to 3 years, and they're really big time players for Tulsa. I don't know if it's going to happen that way. Maybe they get better players in. Those guys aren't starters anymore. I don't know. I just think that's a big part of the issue with this team is they're having to rely on guys who, just need more time to develop. They're good players, but they're maybe not ones you would automatically have in your starting lineup this early in their careers.
That's a real good point that you brought up, and I honestly hadn't thought of it that much, but keeping who you got, recruiting your current players after the season is almost maybe as important as recruiting new players.
Yeah, because I think you're going to be able to find some. I mean, they already have a couple guys who they've signed who are going to be coming in, and I think those guys will make a difference. But you can't take that next step without getting the guys to come back. And I really feel like this coaching staff and the types of players they have, I feel like that's within reach. It's not like they have some guys who, it seems like their heart's not in it and they've given up. Nothing makes me think that that's going to happen. I just know how these things go. And it's so easy to walk away from a situation and be like, and it's not always because it's difficult. It's just maybe not enjoyable. I mean, I think it's fair to say that when you're losing games, it's not a super fun experience. I would say it's not really fun for anyone who's around it. But I think that they could, there's so many teaching moments that have come from these games, and I think probably the most impressed I've been with this team was with the game the other night against East Carolina. That was a game that I really thought was going to get out of hand, and it wound up being a really close game. And TU had possession in the closing seconds and didn't get a shot off, which is a separate issue. But they were down to 7 or 8 players, and just everything was stacked against them. They haven't won in a month. All of these things, and they played their guts out. They played really hard. Best effort I'd seen in a while. Despite being very shorthanded. And there are just these moments when you see like this team with the right pieces, they have some good things going for them. And I really I know this year has not gone well for Eric Conkle, but I really feel like there are these moments when you see or you think, you have to feel optimistic about what he's going to be able to do, because all he's done in his career is win. So I don't think he got to Tulsa and was like, oh, I don't know how to coach. Like he's been a really good coach his whole career. So you have to think that things will align to be better than what this is. So I think you just have to cling to that hope, because this has been a struggle. But it's only they were picked to win the league or anything like that. Like they weren't expected to do a lot, because the talent level, I'm not trying to be harsh, but it's just not there. They can't compete with the teams in the league. They just can't. Memphis, Houston, are you kidding me? Even the teams just above them in the standings have a ton more talent, more size, more pieces. And yeah, there are probably some more games. Some of those games they could have won. It just didn't really happen that way. But they're trying to overcome, some talent discrepancies for sure.
So in his first year, how has Eric Conkle been to talk with, his demeanor on the sidelines? I don't know if he expected this much of a growing pain, but what's he been like?
He is probably the most polite and gracious coach I've ever dealt with. I wouldn't say I know him exceptionally well, because I've just been covering him for 6 weeks now. And that has felt like a really long time, but it really hasn't been that long. But he is he's great to deal with. He thanks you for being there, and it's oh, it's not really an option. That kind of had to be here, but thank you for acknowledging that this has been a challenge for all of us. But I think he gets it, just from my conversations with him. I think he knows that they've got work to do, and he'll even acknowledge in his own way, he's asked about, what has the season been like for you? You're not used to losing. And he was like, I really was hoping to never go through something like this to find out what it's like to not be successful. But I think it's not gonna say, but it's going to be good for him to go through this. But I think you look at, I know that they've tried to find different ways of doing things. Okay, we've lost a lot of games in a row. What can we do differently to maybe spark something here late in the season? And that's obviously a challenge, but he still carries himself in a really good way. And I see his conversations with his players, on the sidelines, in timeouts. He's had some really lopsided losses, and that's been really frustrating when you're just not getting the sort of effort from your guys that they're capable of, and they've done off and on. It's just the inconsistency of it, I think, would be really frustrating. It's they were shorthanded the other night, and then that's the game that they decide to try really hard. It's well, if you would just do that in the other games, I would lose my mind. I could not coach that. But he's very patient, and he's really good with the players, and that's what makes me think that most of them will come back, because I think they know that he's good for them, and his assistants are really good. So I've enjoyed getting to know him and dealing with him. It's just I'll glance over at the sideline, there were some bad turnovers the other night, and I don't know how he doesn't just I would, there are times if I were him, I would intentionally get teed up twice. So I just wouldn't have to be part of it. I'd be like, we're done here. Like, he's very patient. And I think I've been impressed with, just how he's dealt with this season, because I mean, imagine what that's like. You had a good job and you decided to take a chance on another situation. It's not like he was like, an assistant somewhere. Like, he was a head coach at a good program and had success, but wanted to be in a tougher conference. And you move your family, your kids, and you're probably expecting to have some amount of success, and it's been what it's been. I sort of feel for him, but I don't think it's been a surprise. I think they probably thought that they would win more games than this, but the American, even though it's a down year, there are no teams in the league that are just an automatic victory on the schedule. It's just not that way this year. There's a lot of parity after Houston and after Memphis.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk a little football. We can always chat football around here. What's anything going on with Kevin Wilson and his game?
So still looking for a defensive coordinator, which I think is probably an important position to have on your staff. So not really ideal when your defensive coordinator after a month takes another job. But that's stuff that happens when you're the smallest FBS schools. Like, when you're the smallest FBS school, you take a chance on guys, and they somehow springboard that into another opportunity, which is totally fine. But that's definitely something a process that's ongoing. I would think it'd be resolved pretty soon. But I think the problem that Kevin Wilson is running into is most of the guys who would be interested in that job at TU, which is a two-part job. You're a defensive coordinator, but you're also a safeties coach. So you need to be able to do both of those. At this point, it's late February and teams are gearing up for spring practice, and most of those guys who would even be interested and qualified, they're already invested in their current situation, and probably most, if not all of them, have already signed contracts that are keeping them where they are. So that complicates things. I don't know how that's going to go, but I would have to think it'd be resolved another week, within the next week, because you want to. I mean, that's why they haven't announced their spring football dates. I obviously you want your defensive coordinator to be in place. Like, this is a time that, just looking back on what it was with Derek Mason at OSU at this point last year, he spent 6 weeks like picking apart the defense and putting it back together, and that had mixed results. But this is a time when you want your assistants there to figure out what they're going to do, so then you can start installing that during the spring. So kind of a critical time, and I'm sure it's difficult to not have such an important member of your staff on board. But they're going through off-season workouts, and the videos that I've seen have been like super intense, and that's kind of what you want to see. I feel like a lack of toughness, a lack of discipline, those were issues in recent seasons, and seeing that maybe the groundwork being laid in the off season with the new staff. I think that's a good thing that's happening. I'm not going to say it's like, it's not like over the top or anything, but it's just, I think I really feel like we'll see like a dramatic difference in kind of the vibe with Kevin Wilson's teams. And I think that's stuff that it starts now. It's happening now.
Doesn't TU typically do their spring is it a little later than OU or OSU, or a little earlier? I always forget.
So it's usually earlier. I mean, I remember it's been a few years, but I remember one year they started in February, and I was like, it is cold out there. But yeah, they started, I think, the end of February a few years ago. They like to do a week or two before spring break, and then come back after spring break. And sometimes their spring game is in early April. I think it'll be in mid-April this year. And then they'll probably, like, they may not start spring practice until after spring break, or, you know, I feel like it's just going to be this year. I think it'll be later than the other schools. But I think it's going to go, you know, deeper into April. And a lot of that has to do with not having a defensive coordinator. But I think, you know, Kevin Wilson, you know, didn't arrive on campus until, you know, later in December because of what he had going on. So I think it probably makes sense. Like, I don't think there's a need to rush it anyway. But definitely, you know, interested to see what this team looks like in the spring, because anytime there's a coaching change, you don't really know like how that's going to go, like in terms of, you know, maybe I think it's common when there's a coaching change, they have guys who change positions. Like, they'll come in and assess their roster and be like, why is this guy over here? We have way too many guys over here. We need him over here. Stuff like that. I think that's pretty common. But also, you know, there are guys who have an opportunity. I think if you've been buried on the depth chart, you know, there's been a lot of movement with guys, you know, going to not a ton of guys going to the portal, but just movement and you know, maybe a guy who didn't really stand out with the previous staff will have an opportunity. So I love spring football because it's like, especially when there's a new coaching staff, it's kind of a preview of the fall. With this team, I think it's going to be more of a process, and it won't all come together like magically, but you kind of start to get a feel for what this team's identity could be.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Anything else you want to get into, or should we leave it there?
I think that's good.
You good?
I'm good.
We only had, George made a appearance early, but it's been kind of a quiet cat day. I'm a little,
Yeah,
he
went over there. I taped a different thing earlier, and like, I got a lot of cat hair on me during that. So like, I was like breathing it in, like I kept just trying to like wipe it off my face. And so the cats, I think you know, once it gets to like middle of the day, they start settling in for their very long afternoon nap. So I think that's what's happening. George is over here in the windowsill trying to get some sunshine, and he's closing his eyes like it's time to go to sleep.
It's time. Yeah, nice.
If we'd recorded earlier, you know, we may have had more cat sightings. So just keep that in mind for next time.
Good point. All right, we'll leave it there. You can download us for free on Apple, Google, or Spotify. We appreciate you checking us out. Kelly, always good to catch up, and I'll see you in about an hour and a half at the meeting.
It's going to be great.